Welcome to NFL Live on a Wednesday. You know what that means? Everybody's talking today, okay? And look at all these people. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence. They all have something in common. They're quarterbacks.
Hey, they're talking. Really well done there. Very well done.
Dan Orlovsky, Field Yates is here. Adam Schefter is with us as well. We have a lot to get to, so we're going to start off with Shefty. Hello, Adam. What is the latest on the Commanders' wideout, Terry McLaurin?
Hello, Laura. Terry McLaurin did not practice today once again, dealing with that quad injury where he's missed the last couple of games. And the fact that he started this week with a DNP does not bode well for his availability for Monday night's game. Now, it is Wednesday, and the Monday night game obviously is another day. So if McLaurin doesn't practice tomorrow, that would be a sign that they can't count on him to play Monday night. As for Kyler Murray, didn't practice today due to a foot injury, suffered at the end of the game against the Titans. He did come back into play, so that is notable. And Jonathan Gannon, the Cardinals coach, said today that Murray is day-to-day. We'll see whether he can make it back onto the practice field Thursday. But no practice again today for the Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who missed the game last week with that hamstring injury. And the Ravens have a bye after this week's game against the Rams. The fact that there was no sign of Jackson at practice today, not an encouraging sign. And it looks like it'll be another week of Cooper Rush in a week in which there will be more Ravens missing. But there was some positive, encouraging news today. Kyle Hamilton and Ronnie Stanley both returned to practice today, offering some hope and encouragement that those two key players could be back for Sunday's game before the bye against the Rams.
Just a rash of injury for those Ravens. More from Adam throughout the show. And as you heard Adam say, Field, no practice for Lamar. They do get a bit of help, hopefully, with Kyle Hamilton, Ronnie Stanley back. Any hope for the Ravens against the Rams this weekend?
Very concerned. This Rams team, which, by the way, lost in very disappointing fashion last Thursday night, is going to come to Baltimore extremely disappointed after their defeat against the 49ers. I'm concerned because the offense had really no answers last week. Of course, the defense had zero answers. I thought that maybe last week the way that the Texans would approach the Ravens offense is we're going to stack the box and make Cooper Rush beat us with his arm. Believe it or not, they actually saw the Ravens did a lower percentage of stacked box runs for Derrick Henry than in the 5 or 4 weeks leading up to the first full game without Lamar Jackson. Like, they basically just said, you're just not good enough right now, even with Derrick Henry running the football between the tackles. They're really, really threatened by you. If you're looking for a confidence builder right now, Dan, it's your offense faces the Ravens defense or your defense faces the Ravens offense. Obviously, the Texans are a great defense. They're number one in points per game allowed so far this year. But because of the injury attrition, I just don't see it against this Rams team this weekend.
Yeah, I see the Rams very much so winning this game. They're going to be able to run the football. We know this run defense struggles.
Bad.
This defense cannot get to the quarterback. You give Stafford time with this passing group and pass concepts designed, they'll be just fine. I'll say this about the Ravens. Just get to the bye week. I can make the claim that the bye week is more important than the game.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because you're sitting there 1-5. But get to the bye week, see how healthy you can get. Obviously, Lamar leading that way. And then figure out if you can realistically make a run. If you can find a way to win this game, that's absolutely sensational. But coming off of how you looked last week, it's really hard for me to try to think of a way. They got to get to the bye week.
The division they play in helps right now because they have 2 games against Pittsburgh coming up, so they can potentially cover some ground.
But they got to start playing good football.
For sure.
You know, we can sit here and talk about injuries all we want. There's a lot of teams that are dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
You have to start playing good football. You have to be fundamentally sound. You have to be in the places you're supposed to be on defense, whether you're a starter or a backup. You got to be able to maintain a block on the offensive side and complete passes on a consistent. Until Baltimore starts playing good football, we're not going to take them seriously when it comes to the playoff conversation.
As far as we know, Derrick Henry is still healthy, and Derrick Henry was held to under 50 rush yards in 4 straight starts. That's his longest career streak. Feels like they got to find a way to get him the ball more, get him more success. He gets better as the game goes on, too. All right, new on NFL Live. We're going to go here next as the Lions and Chiefs face off on Sunday night. That's going to be a great matchup. Here's Patrick Mahomes and Dan Campbell today on the game.
It's extremely important. I mean, there's no way around it. This is a really good football team that we're going to play. They play extremely hard, and they have a mentality. They're going to come in and win a football game, and so we have to match that intensity. We have to match that mentality, and then knowing that it's going to take our best football.
You got to do a number of things with him. You know, first of all, he can smell a rat from a mile away. So if you're going to disguise, boy, it better be worthy of a Grammy, because this guy sees it all and he smells immediately. He can alter protections. He can get to different things in the pass game. But you got to be careful that you don't want to become something you're not either.
I'm imagining Patrick Mahomes like sniffing the air like, I smell that defense. Okay, we know the Lions are an elite offensive team, leading the league in scoring and 5th in efficiency, but they're also a top-notch defensive team, ranking 2nd in defensive efficiency behind only the Vikings. Last year, only one team ranked top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency, and it was the Super Bowl champion Eagles. Pretty cool to see them get to full strength, getting Aiden Hutchinson back this year. Dan, what stood out to you about the Lions defense so far this season?
Old school principles in a new era. They play defense in a way that not many teams in the NFL do. Number one, they are violent at the line of scrimmage, and they believe in rerouting. They're playing man coverage across the board, immediate reroute at the line of scrimmage. We don't see that from corners a lot. And then when they're playing man, they're often playing it together. Shallow cross from the slot. That safety cuts, that backside safety is looking to replace if necessary. That should be an 8 to 10 yard completion. It's 4 yards. Okay, then Hutch by himself. We have the overload away. T. Higgins and Jamar up top. They're going to go 1, reroute. Again, teams don't do that much. 2-man up top, and they're going to put that single corner by himself. Now it's 3rd and 15. They're funneling everything inside. We'll give up you an 8 or 9 yard completion, force a field goal. I love that. Here's that man-to-man again. Empty set. Kansas City's going to present this. Are we going to get a reroute at the line of scrimmage? Jam, 100% we are. That throws off the timing of the pass game. Just watch how the safeties play that vision, though. This isn't man-to-man, you by yourself. It's man-to-man with always help. There's always somebody there that is playing off of the leverage. And I will ask you this. Find me a linebacker playing better than Alex Anzalone. Here's the deep cross. What's the corner do? Hey, safety, here it comes. Here it comes. Safety gets to cut the crosser. Corner up top replaces. Everybody has vision underneath. Anzalone just waiting there because he knows that ball has to get thrown off of that concept. Bang, pick. Anzalone's playing backer as good as anybody in football. Wow. And I think that there is defensively an epidemic in the NFL that we just don't reroute pass game receivers anymore. That defense does.
Alex Anzalone, Gator, by the way.
Gator, go Gators.
I'll be interested to see if they have the same approach this upcoming weekend because the injuries have really hit this Lions team. 3 of their top 4 corners, at least coming into the season, like when training camp began, are not going to be available on Sunday night, with the latest addition being Terrion Arnold, their second-year corner, who Terrion is going to continue to grow into a player who understands there's a fine line between aggressive and having too many flags thrown your way. Yeah. That being said, at some point when the depth piles up, or at least I should say the depth goes the other way, when your depth becomes an issue, you can't always do things exactly how you want to do so. The best way, though, to cover up for a secondary that's depleted is to rush the passer well. This past Monday night, the Chiefs didn't win the game, but they protected Patrick Mahomes at a very high level. He was not sacked once by a Jaguars defense that had been very aggressive all season, had done a good job of piling up those sacks. And, of course, as Dan Campbell alluded to, Patrick is not going to be fooled by much. So if you are going to bring pressure, to try to account for the fact that you are thin in the secondary, as Dan Campbell also said, it better be the ultimate disguise because there are very few things at this juncture of Patrick's career that totally catch him off guard. Didn't seem like the Jaguars were able to catch him off guard much on Monday night. 318 passing yards is best of any game this season.
Yeah, I think the question is Detroit going to do that same stuff? Is the fair one to ask.
Right. You know, we saw it last year in the playoff game against Washington. Even when they were getting carved up, they did not stop. Kelvin Shepard has some Aaron Glenn.
Still got
Maybe
those
they got it.
I don't think they're gonna. Rock Ya-Sin's still there. He's played a lot of football in this league. You can trust his veteran experience. Those safeties make up for a lot. Those safeties are special players.
By the way, Patrick Mahomes 0-2 in his career versus Jared Goff, but he has thrown for 704 yards and 8 touchdowns in those 2 games. So it hadn't necessarily been his fault. All right, we're just getting started on NFL Live. Glad you're with us on this Wednesday. From a rough start to a commanding finish, Jaden Daniels led Washington to a win over the Chargers. Dan, going to the touchscreen to show you how it all happened. You do not want to miss this. Just excellent stuff. Plus, the Cowboys rolled to victory last week, and a handful of difference makers led the charge. Stick around to find out why Field thinks they're stepping up their game in the absence of CeeDee Lamb. Little shout out here to Jerry Jones in some ways.
Jerry, I promise you, that's allowed.
We're saying good stuff about Mr.
We
Jones.
are.
Stick around.
How about this? We got 2 Monday Night Football games for you next week. Josh Allen and the Bills taking on Michael Penix and the Falcons at 7 Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. Dan on the call for that game with Chris Fowler and Lewis Riddick, Peter Traeger and Katie George. The Bears-Commanders coverage begins at 8 Eastern on ABC. They're also available on the all-new ESPN app. You can watch both starting at 8 p.m. All right, new on NFL Live. Here's Cowboys head coach Brian Schottenheimer today on how the Cowboys offense has been able to find success.
You go out on game day and you just let it rip, man. You just let it go, and I think that's how you handle the ups and downs, of this game. And I mean, I was tired. The players were tired after Sunday. The emotions of it, up and the downs, and it's like a game where you feel like we had the game in hand most of the time, but like there's constantly things going on, and I think really, trying to get these guys to understand to play free and relax is the best way to go out there and be the best version of yourself.
This reminds me of our philosophy for NFL Live. We just let it rip. We ride the highs, the lows.
Yeah.
There's not many lows. All right, time now for Insight versus Impact. This is a new segment we're really excited about. Field's going to dive into some smart moves that were made this offseason, so we're going to talk about that. And then Dan's going to show us how it's actually playing out on the field. So we're going to stay in Dallas, where the Cowboys made some moves this offseason. Field, they've got you impressed.
Yeah, Laura, I think it's important in life to be able to understand that 2 things can be true at once, right? You can question the Micah Parsons trade, but still like a lot of what the Cowboys did besides that this offseason. They made a bet on Javonte Williams, a guy who'd been cast off after 4 years in Denver. He's a bust. Apparently not, because he's been one of the best running backs in all of the NFL. George Pickens, who they got for the cost of just 2 draft picks, none bigger than a 3rd-round pick, has been excellent, especially in the absence of CeeDee Lamb over the past few games. And they made a bet on Jake Ferguson, who had 0 receiving touchdowns last year. They gave him a 4-year, $52 million extension this offseason. I would say in terms of impact, he's right there at the top of the list of all tight ends in the NFL this season, especially with Brock Bowers being banged up. Last week, George Pickens was kind of slowed down by Sauce Gardner. And then our guy Ryan Flanoy, who they drafted a year ago in the 6th round, made a major impact with over 100 total yards.
Let's go, Jerry.
One of my favorite offenses to watch on a week-by-week basis. I think the way that I'll describe it is they're making the simple look complicated to defenses. You go to earlier in the game, this is 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And this is going to be just a counter to your back, Javonte Williams. You're not looking for home runs. You get down block, you pull the backside guard. This is going to be a good, efficient 6 or 7 yard run. But the backside is starting to really creep in and pay attention. Then you go to a couple plays later. Can we take that same thing, dress it up a little bit, and run a very different play? 2 backs, 2 tight ends. Motion, back offset. Now we're going to down block, pull the guard. Here comes that counter that we just ran just to the other side. Look at everybody in the backside. Okay, that's got to be the same run that just happened for Dallas. Nope. It's that tight end screen to Jake Ferguson. You have 3 blockers out front with only 1 defender left. But this is a simple play by the offense that looks complicated to defense. Flournoy, go a little bit later in the game. Here we go, 2 tight ends. Now, are we going to get that same action? Is it going to be that counter that we've seen the counter run? We've seen the counter screen. We just saw this motion. Yep. Here's the backside guard, double pullers. It must be that counter run. Get downhill to Javonte Adams. Here's that little flip reverse to Flournoy, that wide receiver. I just think the way that they're calling their offense is simple, look complicated, and take the complicated for us and make it very simple. I really like that Schottenheimer's like, hey, we're just letting it fly. But we got to credit him. This offense is incredibly creative, and they're tying it all together.
It's all happening with a lot of offensive line injuries as well. There are 3 starting Tylers along the offensive line, have been very banged up of late. Sounds like some reinforcements coming, though, in the form of Tyler Booker, their 1st-round pick, getting healthy.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And when CeeDee Lamb comes back, just imagine.
A fun offense.
All right, let's talk about the Patriots a little bit. They're off and running. Of course, a big, big deal. This win over the Bills, the Drake May era with Mike Vrabel has had very good returns so far. Phil, just 5 games into this season, what moves from the Patriots offseason? They did a lot of different things. What has impressed you the most?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a relationship in the NFL right now that's more important between a young quarterback and the play caller who's tutoring him. And right now the Patriots have found a perfect marriage between Drake May and, of course, Josh McDaniels, back for his 3rd stint with the team. And Josh, of course, worked legendarily with Tom Brady for a long time. This is his first young quarterback project in quite some time, though, right? At least to this level. And Drake May, I think about him like this. he's got so much improvisation skill in his game, and he actually almost feels better when he's allowed the liberty to do things outside a little bit of structure. Not that he's not dropping back, no play action. I'm just saying that, like,
that's abnormal for McDaniel's offense,
yeah,
too.
he has adapted to the player that he has in Drake May, who is dissimilar to any quarterback that he has ever coached. So not just Josh McDaniels, but also Stephon Diggs, who in each of the past 2 games has gone over 100 yards for the Patriots, seeing north of 40% of the targets in those 2 games. He has looked like vintage Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, quick learner. That's the thing that has really started to stand out for Drake May. And you talk about that play caller. When the play caller calls a play, there's got to be a great conversation. I love this, okay? Number 1, double chips on the edges. Let's give it a chance to get the play off. We're going to send a post down the field, a deep cross, and a check down. This backer's kind of in between. Drake takes the check down. That's fine. Happens a little quick. Play caller, call it again. I'll get it right. It's going to be the very similar look. There's going to be this play fake. We're going to get this double chip on the edges. Let's give it a chance. Right, hey, a couple plays before we ran this, Drake, you might have got to check down a little bit too quick. Give our guys a chance. The protection's going to be there. And all of a sudden we get that deep post, and here comes that crosser. Last time he threw that check down right here. That backer's thinking the same thing. Float it over. Man, I love that. I freaking love that out of Drake May. That is the perfect example of the in-game, a quarterback going to the sideline, looking at the tablet, a coach saying, hey, I don't mind the check down. It was 1st and 10. You got us a good play. I'm going to call it again. If we get a similar look, trust it. Let's try to take our shot at the over. It leads to points before the half and ends up winning them the game.
Yeah, big-time win this past Sunday night. I think for Patriots offenses for the last 20 years, we've talked about, like, precision, knowing exactly where to be and when to be there. There's an adjustment now because with Drake May, no play is ever dead. Think about at least 2 throws from this past Sunday night. I mean, the one he's getting dragged down by a defensive player. Like, you're telling Stephon Diggs, the play is not over until the ref blows the whistle. Another throw down the sideline that nearly was a touchdown for Stephon Diggs as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's some backyard football being played right now in New England, a little bit different than years past.
The other thing that is stand out is you can tell the quarterback understands the why of the play call.
Yeah.
I'm just calling a 5-yard completion, get it. Take it out. And so that's the way the quarterback tells the play caller with this play. Just keep calling it. I'll make the right choice. And when he's consistently making the right choice, I think it promotes some of that freedom.
You know, I haven't had the Patriots yet in games this year, but 2 coaches, Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen, have both said in our coaches' meetings, I'm just trying to get the quarterback to visualize the play, to run through it in his head. And it's so interesting. It feels like Drake May is already there in the early going.
Tape absolutely says that.
Really cool. You see just his understanding and maybe the confidence too, right? I love that. Going back to a play, it shows how much the coach believes in him. All right, still to come. The Philadelphia Eagles finally face defeat, and the questions continue to fly, but Field, he's not concerned. Are you, Field? You're not.
No, we don't worry around here.
Find out why next.
If there's reason to worry, we can.
May be without his number 1 wideout, Terry McLaurin, for the 2nd week in a row. He spoke today on how he adapts with the injuries on offense.
I got to control what I can control and do what I can do on the field and put the offense in the best situation to execute at a high level. And that's kind of what I look at. I'll look at the outcome of things, but, you got to be process-oriented instead of result-oriented. So at the end of the day, like, if you do the right process and you execute, you might look up and you might like the result of the game.
There's a lot to like result-wise. This offense reminds me so much of a Kyle Shanahan from years ago. I don't know if there's an offense that wastes defenders as much as Washington does because of their no-huddle and because of their formation. These are going to be 4 plays that happen in a row in the football game, okay? All of them are going to present a 4-by-1 in some capacity. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you get is 2 plays or 3 plays in one. Now, Jaden has the opportunity to hand this run off up top, okay? Or he can throw this screen to the bottom. Now, here's the thing. You're just counting numbers if you're Jaden Daniels. At the bottom of the screen, I got 2, and the defense has 2. Great. If I'm going to kick a screen, I'm going to throw that screen out there, advantage us numbers-wise. Now, here's the thing that stands out. These defenders that are maybe 3 and 4 in this play, look how much space they have to run to because we're stretching you with this screen horizontally from field to field. I mean, that is just a completion that gets you 6 or 7 yards. You go to the very next play, here's motion. Couple things. Number 1, I mentioned all of them are going to present 4-by-1 in some capacity. 1, 2, 3, 4. Defensively, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4. So just cutting the field in half, I've got 4 on 4. I feel good about that from an offensive perspective. Here's the thing. Because of that motion, I only have 1 up top. That's Deebo Samuel. You as a defense have 2. Advantage me. I'm taking 2 of your defenders because of that no huddle in motion. I've wasted them now. Now I have a vacancy in the middle of the field. Easy completion for Jaden Daniels, and that's going to be a huge part for their offense. You're going to see the motion. We're going to waste that defender up top. It's a little bit of a ball fake, and we have vacancy in the middle of the field. Great. Advantage us as an offense. That's a huge chunk. Very next play. We're in no huddle. We're staying with that same formation, that same personnel grouping. This time, Jaden Daniels is in the backfield, okay? Jaden Daniels is just a decoy. Bill Krosky Merritt is the person playing that quarterback position. It looks like I have 4 people up top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as a defense, you got to match that. I'm in no huddle. Did they communicate that the tailback was getting the snap? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've taken 4 offensively. I've wasted 6. Advantage us. Huge run in the run game with my tailback being the ball carrier and my quarterback just being a little bit of a decoy. Very next play. This is all in their no-huddle offense. Another presentation of 4x1. Remember that 4x1, that first play where I showed that we kicked that perimeter screen? Now, last time they only had 2 over 2. Now, defensively, they're going to go 1, 2, 3 over there. And as I snap this ball as an offense, you're going to see me once again waste your guys. They're wasting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defenders are really paying attention to the short side of the field because the ball's on the hash, and we can just hand this ball off and follow our lead blockers, and it's a huge touchdown for Washington. Those are all 4 consecutive plays. All run in no huddle, all with the 4x1 principle, and all of them wasted defenders of the Los Angeles Chargers. They take space, they take advantage of it, and then numbers are always in their advantage. It's a massive challenge for defenses to handle.
Golly, you just see how frustrating that's got to be for the defense.
Always numbers. It's always math for that offense.
Standing there. They're not doing anything. I love it, Dan. Wasting the defenders. All right, new on NFL Live, Joe Flacco officially in Cincy. So who is QB2 in Cleveland now? Kevin Stefanski addressed that today.
Still working through all roster type of things. I always have to be mindful of our players and our players' development. And, I want to make sure that I'm always doing what's best for our players and, of course, our team. But, with young players, I'm always thinking about last week making the change to Dylan. You have to think long and hard about that because these are young players that you're so invested in their development. So I'll let the week play out and make a decision later on that.
By the way, I just want to say Kevin Stefanski is such a good coach. I'm not sure he gets enough credit all the time. Time now for some top stories. Adam, what are the Browns' plans for Shedeur Sanders this week?
Well, our 2-time Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, did not specify what his plans were. And the fact that he didn't do that today tells you that obviously they're giving some consideration to Bailey Zappi, who is on the practice squad. If Shedeur is the second-string quarterback, that means they have a rookie starter, a rookie backup, and that might not be the ideal scenario for the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, he wants to see how the week unfolds and wait until the end of the week before he makes his announcement. But the fact that he didn't anoint Shedeur today raises some signs of curiosity. Joe Flacco, meanwhile, will start Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. It will mark the second time in 4 weeks that Joe Flacco will start against the Green Bay Packers. He did it as the Browns quarterback, and he will do it as the Bengals quarterback on Sunday. Another crack at Green Bay. Meanwhile, out in San Francisco today, Brock Purdy did not practice today. And that's a sign that Mac Jones could be tracking again to play on Sunday in place of Brock Purdy, who's dealing with that turf toe injury. And Brock Purdy was not the only 49er not to practice today. No Ricky Pearsall, no Juwan Jennings. They are not counting on having Pearsall on Sunday. We'll see if Jennings can make it back for that game. And as for Thursday night football, tomorrow night, a slew of notable injuries. Landon Dickerson ruled out for the Eagles. Darius Slayton ruled out for the New York Giants. It looks like Nakobe Dean could make his season debut tomorrow night for Philadelphia. And one other injury note about that game, Tyrone Tracy Jr., the Giants running back, is off the injury report and expected to play Thursday night against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I see Jalen Carter on there as well. It seems like anytime he's been out there, he has been dealing with an injury as well, thanks to Adam. Now, speaking of the Eagles, last year they were the only team that called more run plays on offense than pass plays, running for nearly 180 yards per game. This season, however, Philly is only calling design run on 41% of offensive plays and are averaging just 3.5 yards per rush, the 4th lowest mark in the NFL. Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley confirmed that they, along with A.J. Brown, had a meeting this week amid the Eagles' offensive struggles. Here's more on what they had to say.
Yeah, we had a conversation, but I'm not going to speak too much on it. I feel like that conversation is meant to stay between us, but focus was all about the team, and I think it was a good thing.
It's just us talking about the collective, talking about taking ownership for what we can, and talking about how we move forward as a team so we continue to find ways to win games.
Love the fact that we all get together and are looking for solutions to continue to get better. That's just not a coaching thing. That's just not a leaders on the football team. That's this team. When the captains on your team and the leaders of your football team are doing that, and just focusing on how we get better and be playing our best football by the end of the year. You don't have to sit with this loss that we had on Sunday for too long. We get to go out and play a game tomorrow, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth saying that it's just the one loss that they've had.
Yeah.
Now, I realize their offense has struggled, but still remarkable the lens through which we're viewing these Eagles. What do you make of all this?
That's what we have reached with Philadelphia, is that the bar is no longer do you play well offensively or defensively. It's are you the best team in the NFL, and can you legitimately compete for a championship this season, which I fully believe that they can. As a matter of fact, I'm still thinking they are the best team in the NFL when they put their A game together. Is it fair to note some of the areas in which they have struggled so far this season? Of course, offensively, they have had some dramatic woes. This team also, since Nick Sirianni became the head coach, has averaged nearly 26 points per game. That's the second highest mark in NFL history for any head coach that has coached at least 50 games, behind only Sean Payton. There's plenty of reasons for me to believe that this team over the course of the season is going to get better. I think the reason that we hold them to a certain standard is not just because they're the defending Super Bowl champions, but also because so much of the offense returned from 2024 that we expect things to sort of pick up where they left off. And I think maybe Philly is given a little bit less grace to grow early in the year compared to the rest of the NFL. These are what I would call high society problems. When you're at the very top of the mountain, we got to find ways to identify issues. It's just those issues feel much more significant because of the fact that if you're not perfect and if you're not dominating teams, we're asking what's wrong. So have a lot of belief in this Philadelphia team going forward. It has not been a perfect start offensively, but a good opportunity tomorrow night specifically to get the running game going. The Giants have allowed 140 rush yards per game. It hasn't been pretty for them in terms of trying to limit opposing running backs. Maybe Saquon Barkley has kind of a vintage Saquon Barkley night at MetLife Stadium.
All right, remember, he had 176 rush yards in his only other career meeting versus the Giants.
Yeah.
And you wonder, I mean, it feels like maybe the revenge is over there. He's gotten all the revenge he could ever want,
Sure,
but there's probably still a little
probably
extra.
always a little room for extra
Exactly.
revenge, right? Yeah.
All right, coming up, coaches and players. Lost in translation, where people say the darndest things.
Mr. Miyagi would say karate yes, karate no, down the middle squashed.
I can't give you all the ingredients to the hot dog. You might not like it. There's still a little bit of Ferris Bueller in this player.
Is it the Delaware River?
Today is as dead as Napoleon.
The pool party time. It's good.
A relationship not many people know about, and we're secret lovers.
Definitely an HR violation.
Oh my goodness, I love this. All right.
Never fails.
You can't have Lost in Translation without Jerry Jones. He was caught in 4K, given the finger during the Jets-Cowboys game over the weekend, but listen to his explanation.
That was unfortunate that there was a swarm of Cowboy fans. That was inadvertent on my part because that was right after we'd made our last touchdown, and we were all excited about. There wasn't any antagonistic issue or anything like that. I just put up the wrong show on the hand. The intention was thumbs up.
I want to get to
different.
I'm sorry, I'm like choked up thinking about this moment. I want to get to the point in my life where I just don't care and I just say whatever I want to justify the actions. It's amazing. I'm so happy he didn't apologize. By the way, live a little. What's $250,000 to Jerry Jones? Pocket change?
Nah,
I don't even know if it's pocket change.
Was it worth the finger? Like maybe he felt so good about it.
He gets another day in the news cycle.
Those fingers
It's right
are
in the
far
playbook.
away, though. Like the thumb and that finger are not close. So
I'm trying to think if I've ever done something like that.
Dan, you do something like that like every day.
Yeah.
Every day?
Yeah. That's at home. There's nothing at home you've done that you're like, I wasn't actually meaning to do that.
Well, to that extreme of what that represents, I don't know if I have.
Okay.
No, I've probably
I misrepresented you, Dan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have a reputation.
Jerry Jones. Okay, you on NFL Live. The Jags look to keep rolling as they host the Seahawks this Sunday. Here's Trevor Lawrence on the matchup.
It doesn't worry me, no. I mean, obviously it's something that we do have to handle the right way. We got to know that we haven't done anything. I mean, the only thing we're guaranteed is that we're going to win 4 games this year, which is, which isn't enough. So, we got a lot more work to do. So I think the guys know what the right mindset is, though. And I think guys know that we play a really good Seattle team this week. And if you're still thinking about the game we just won, then, that's a problem. We got to move on.
Yeah, that was really important what he said right there. Like, even though it's great to bask in the glow of winning against the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, move on because this one could slip up on you. Let's turn our attention to the Jags defense. What's going to be key for them, Dan, in this matchup?
Yeah, it's a battle of strength on strength in this football game. This Jags defense has been very good in a lot of different situations. They're also very good dealing with what I would say is the strength of Seattle's offense, 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends. I love Seattle's 12 personnel because they can do so much out of it. They can get their play action game out of it. That is very good. They can get their, max protection game, JSN, Cooper Kupp, the way that they could beat coverages. If you look at the left side, Sam Darnold thrives in it using those 2 tight ends. He hasn't thrown an interception in those 2 tight end situations, and they're averaging 6.6 yards per carry when they have those 2 tight ends in the field. Right side, Jacksonville's defense is fantastic defending it. And so who wins in that battle? Seattle's going to do it. I promise you. Seattle will live 30 to 40% of this game into 12 personnel. How does Jacksonville handle it, and which one wins?
Yeah, and Jacksonville did not we talked about it earlier. Not a lot of pressure generated against Patrick Mahomes. Other side of the ball, what I'm keeping my eyes on is Seattle is on the short list for best defenses in the NFL and generating pressure without bringing an extra rusher. We talked about this actually going into their game against the Bucs last week as well. Despite the fact that their pass rush win rate is near the top of the NFL, their blitz rate is near the bottom of the NFL. Can this Jaguars offensive line hold up against what might be the most versatile group of interior defensive linemen across the league? They've got guys in literally different shapes and sizes in that amongst that interior group that just find ways to make life really uncomfortable for you as a passer. I thought there were some moments, specifically the last drive of the game, where it kind of started off a little like you're like, dude, are you you understand the clock is working against you a little bit here, right? 2 runs. But there were other moments throughout that game where I'm thinking to myself, Trevor was very decisive in the right way in terms of when to utilize his legs. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, both on very good decisions by him. See more of that, because this front will make you uncomfortable. They'll find ways to compromise the interior of that pocket.
Okay, so the head coach of Jacksonville is who?
Liam Cohen.
Where did he come from?
The Rams and the Bucs.
Yeah. Who did Seattle play last weekend?
The Bucs.
The Bucs. And so the Bucs, who Josh Grizzard, their offensive coordinator, was under Liam Cohen. If you watch the way that they attacked Seattle's offense, it was that first down, ultra aggressive, motion, snap it while the guy's going, play action shots over the middle of the field, and they killed Seattle's middle of the field defense. The middle linebacker for Seattle, I think Ernest Jones, was struggling in coverage. I would imagine Jacksonville would run very similar stuff to see, have you fixed it? Because they tackled poorly Seattle defensively as well. I think they'll get that. Mike will get that right. But I just think schematically, there's a lot that they can carry over that Tampa Bay did that I would fully expect Jacksonville to try to implement.
I bet Jacksonville wishes that they would have Strange, their tight end. He's such an important target for them.
Yeah, that's a great point.
IR.
He's a big deal.
That was a big deal. I mean, he went out.
He's on IR?
Yes.
4 games.
They announced that.
Yeah.
But maybe promising that Brian Thomas Jr. had that big catch late in the game, too. Like, they really want to get him more involved.
And Diami and Travis Hunter.
Of Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor Lawrence all season on Monday.
Yeah.
I agree.
Wasn't 100% in terms of targets and catches, but huge PI late in the game in the end zone on a ball that was right there, and that's a good opportunity. It was not a touchdown because of the fact that he got interfered with, but it looked the most comfortable between those 2 guys all season. And 4-1 is great. If they want to get to another tier in the AFC, which they're starting to knock on that door, they need to be a bit more explosive offensively through their 2 wide receivers specifically. Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter both have immense talent. We saw it especially in the case of Hunter on Monday night. They got to get more out of those guys if they're going to compete with the biggest of contenders in the AFC. I know they just beat the Chiefs on Monday night, but you got to keep doing that throughout the course of the year.
They're knocking on that door, though. All right, new on NFL Live. Here's Aaron Rodgers today on Facebook.
Get the ball out, for sure. But, Miles is a Hall of Famer. He might not be in yet, but that's where he's going. He's one of the few players in the league that, over my 21 years, that you game plan for. And you watch the film, every team has a plan. There's been a few guys over the years, not many. There's been a few guys over the years like that. Now, we have one as well. When we played the Steelers last year, our plan was to get 4 hands on TJ Watt every single play and not let him dominate the game. His brother was the same way when we played JJ. Interior guys, it's sometimes a little harder, like the Aaron Donalds of the world and JJ. But Miles is a special talent, has been since his first year in the league, and he's a game breaker.
All right, so for those keeping track at home, Rodgers faced Garrett just once in his career. Garrett did not get a pressure on him once. Dan, what do you be looking for in this matchup, though?
I think Aaron and this offense will treat Myles Garrett like they did Minnesota defensively. Get it out of Aaron's hands. It'll be a very quick-centric pass game. You just heard Aaron talk about it. Multiple hands. We saw the Steelers' last week, 6 offensive linemen in the game, and Washington. I would imagine we'll see a lot of that both in the run and the pass game. A 6th offensive lineman there, a Washington there, so you got 2 very big people trying to make sure that they put hands on Myles. And then the big thing is being good on early downs because you don't want to get into those obvious passing situations.
He'll get you there. All right, still ahead. The Buccaneers and 49ers face off this weekend. Is there anything stopping Baker Mayfield and the Bucs' high-powered offense? Hear what one of us thinks could tip the scales. We'll give you the secret to this game. Look at that. Baker cook. Okay. Baker. All right, it's time for Rookie Watch. And just because Hawk isn't here, by the way, he'll be back next week. He's in Europe right now.
He's in London.
Doesn't mean we can't show love to the receivers, okay? So, Field, who do you have for us today on a little sneaky way to do Wideout Wednesday?
By the way, is Hawk actually visiting the Louvre this week?
Hanging in the Louvre.
Let's take a look at the rookie wide receivers that were taken in the first round. The first full-time wide receiver taken in the first round was Tedero McMillan, who's amongst the NFL leaders in targets. Yet to find the end zone. To me, the most impressive thing that I have seen between him and Bryce Young this year is a trust. Bryce understands this may not be the best separator in the NFL, but he's one of the best contested catch receivers already. Keep throwing the football his way. Good things are coming soon.
I want to go to Travis Hunter. So, one, Jacksonville's run the football well. He's their best blocking receiver. Let me say that. 2, I think we saw the other night just 2 things. 1, they just got to find ways to get him some of those easy completions to build some yak into their offense. And then I think he's warranting Trevor Lawrence to say, hey, I'm going to give you more opportunities down the field with your ball skills.
That was ridiculous
That was
right
insane.
there. Green Bay doesn't really need a wide receiver to dominate because their offense is potent enough with a lot of depth. That being said, we've seen improvement from Matthew Golden, who the last time the Packers played had 5 catches for 68 yards against the Cowboys. Have also gotten him involved with 6 rushing attempts over the past 3 games. Still haven't seen a breakout game from Golden, but I do think it could be coming soon, even with Christian Watson returning to the lineup sooner rather than later.
I really like that clip where he went up with his hands.
Big time.
Catch it, not catch it with his hands. Can we say anything more about this young man? He is absolutely, that route is absolutely disgusting right there. He's been sensational. Coming out of school, you liked a lot about his game. He was a nuanced route runner, strong lower half. I think his ability to understand coverage and then what is needed in that route that he's being asked to run to win against that coverage is such an underappreciated fact about him. What was his 40 coming out of school?
Well, he never ran one officially, but it was suggested to be around 4.45, 4.47.
He plays like it. You know, it's he does such a great a great job of understanding how to attack a defensive back's leverage.
Yeah, and that was, one of the things, maybe a lesson learned in the draft process is sometimes you call guys pro-ready, high-floor prospects, and it can sort of suggest there's not a gigantic ceiling. This guy got a ridiculous ceiling, even though he was a safe, high-floor prospect.
Yeah. God, it's fun to hear Baker Mayfield talk about him, too, because he's like the quarterback's best friend because he asks exactly where he needs to be so that the throw can be exactly what Baker wants it to be. He just loves talking that community.
He's in the MVP conversation.
Woo! All right,
Baker?
I love it.
No.
Abuka.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool,
I like
Dan. No rookie
ESPN
wideout, by the way, just in case you're wondering, has been more impressive than Abuka so far. He's the first player in NFL history to have 25 catches for at least 400 yards with 5 touchdown receptions in his first 5 NFL games. Abuka coming off back-to-back 100-yard receiving games. The last rookie ever with 3 straight was Odell Beckham Jr. in 2014. New on NFL Live, in case anyone's wondering if Baker Mayfield still has a chip on his shoulder, here's the answer.
I told you guys that I try and not get too high, not get too low, which is something that I was not doing early on in my career. But, early on in my career, it's looked as cocky, immature. Now it's moxie, he's a dog. So it's same different day. Just as long as you play well, they change the narrative. But you just got to be yourself, and I've always been like that.
I mean, like, it's
He is
so,
a dog, though.
It's
He's a
so
dog.
great, though, that Baker, like, can be in his bag again because we're getting, like, funny Baker.
Well, I also think the way he starts to comment when he says, you know, I always say never too high, never too low. I wasn't like that early on in my career. I think that's a very big, that's a big thing. He's definitely the same person, but the maturity that he has shown through the ups and downs, I think, is definitely grown.
And through so many different offensive coordinators and coaches. Like, it's remarkable to see the way that he has held strong to what he is and changed in a lot of good ways. What challenges does Tampa Bay's offense create for this 49ers defense this week, Dan?
Well, I would say this. One, those receivers that we've talked about, and Egbuka being the mainstay, Godwin has looked really good. I think there's this willingness to be very active in the screen game as well. That was something that Liam Cohen brought over for them. So you get consumed with these wide receivers, right? And oh my gosh, Baker throwing the ball down there, and then they slip that Y screen in there, and then they slip that angle screen in there, and then they'll get a play action screen or a slot. There's a lot that you got to pay attention to.
I'll be curious. I'm seeing this more and more around the NFL with these sort of medium-tier athletes at the quarterback spot. Where Baker's a good athlete, he's not going to be mistaken for Lamar Jackson, right? Where these defenses are willing to play man coverage but not leave some sort of shadow for a guy like Baker, and he's just carving them up on opportunities to run and scramble a little bit. I wonder if teams will be a little bit more mindful of guys like Baker. Then again, they're not going to run for 100 yards in a game, but they're good enough that if you forget about them and bring pressure, Baker's astute enough to see pressure, find a way to the first down.
The athleticism and the playmaking is the secondary element rather than the primary element.
Exactly. But